Great Tuesday. Welcome to the Becoming More Fully Human podcast. I'm your host, King. I'm joined with my other co-hosts, Jess, Esther, Rachel, and Todd. How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Doing excellent. And so, as we like to get started with our check-ins, let's go around. What's each person's check-in? Jess, that's up to you. What's your check-in, Jess?
Yeah, I'm feeling great, really vibrating at the frequency of love, and so grateful to be here.
Excellent. How about yourself, Rachel?
I got the frequency of love flowing plus the connection frequency, which is really nice because I like to feel connected. It's a good feeling.
Excellent. And Todd, how about you?
I'm feeling really happy to be present with what wherever we'll go with this discussion. You have no agenda, so I'm just full of hope.
Well, welcome to the conversation. Your presence is definitely felt and appreciated. I'm vibrating at a 10 and living in gratitude. It's an excellent way to get things started. So today's show, we want to kind of get into the collective unconscious. And a gentleman who's written this interesting thesis on giving people frameworks based on people's behaviors. And these frameworks he calls the stupidity matrix. And he outlines that based on people's choices and behaviors, you can categorize people based on things such as benefit loss and cost to others. And so he gave 4 behavioral patterns, or called phenotypes. The first one is intelligent. Your actions benefit both yourself and others. Those are the intelligent people. Bandit. Your actions benefit you, but causes losses to others. Number 3, helpless. Your actions benefit others, but causes loss to yourself. Self-sacrificing. And then number 4 is stupid. Your actions causes loss to both yourself and others. So those are the 4 different phenotypes that he's defined. I just want to have a discussion within that context and identity and everything as it relates to how we were raised in our culture. So let's start off on that. Anybody have any initial thoughts on?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about these 4 different levels and how they've operated in my life. And really coming from a culture, I think in the 80s, where we used stupid as a slang consistently. I remember being told, like, we don't use that word, but really we use it derogatorily to project it on somebody else and to say, like, they really don't know what they're doing. And I had so much more meaning in it than what you just outlined in the framework.
Yeah, in just one word. Yeah, that word goes a long way for a lot of different reasons. I love that there's 4 different levels listed here, but you know what? And also that it doesn't isolate one section of our society or our culture or any given culture. It's just kind of blanket across the board. Like, you could be highly educated and you're still acting kind of stupid or helpless or a bandit or intelligent. You know, it's all depending on maybe your choices that you're making at any given moment.
Yeah, and I like that it's not intelligence based, that it's behavior based.
Yeah.
It really, that framework, it changes it from being academia. And I think that's where we've really associated stupidity, is like, if you don't have knowledge, and it's not that at all.
I think our culture and our collective as a whole has done that, like maybe through just the programming itself. Like, oh, you went to an Ivy League college. Oh, you went to a community college. You went to college. You didn't go to college. And there's like this, the judgment that comes out. And even in these statements, maybe we're presenting a bit of judgment, but it's more of a clarification of where you're standing with your connection with humanity or with each other.
And that's what I look at it as in that context, that everything comes down to your choices. These are your behaviors. And so that's what you're judging. You're judging a person's behaviors, not the person themselves. Because they can make different choices. They can choose different behaviors. So they're not locked into that. And once you begin to think critically and become aware, you should not want to be stupid in that context where the choices you're making, the behaviors don't benefit you or anyone else. It's like there is no logical choice to be in that category once you're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me look at my actions, and you can assess my actions. Like, my actions have shown a pattern where it really didn't benefit anybody else, but it was trying to my identity.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's tied to my identity, I'm being programmed that the identity, this is how you behave based on the identity.
Mm.
And these are who your enemies are based on the identity. And these are who you need to be mad at. You see these individuals, then this is how you should respond. And people do that. And they go through that. But if you ever stop to think, why am I doing it? Is that really benefiting me to do this?
Mm.
Right? And if it is, then say that. So, yeah, I get joy out of this. I get joy out of seeing someone else's demise.
Mm.
But I think there's very few people in the world who do. That's what I like. That's what I generally believe. Now, I could be wrong, but I operate at least in that kind of context. The majority of people I'm going to meet in the world are not in that stupid behavior characteristic category.
Awareness is key. Yeah, the awareness aspect of it is absolutely key. You know, where do you want to be on that level, and who do you want to program you, and what cultural values do you want to embrace, and why? And I mean, we could go on and on and on about this, and how much of it isn't even you,
and how much of it is like who you surround yourself with,
right? And what?
Mm.
That's King went straight to, and you guys are touching on it. What I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts on, and he makes a statement here. He says the non-stupid people consistently fail to recognize the immense destructive power of stupid individuals. And what it leads me to is the difference between judging, and King already touched on it, a person, and just saying, oh, they're just a stupid person. And that, you know, that's clearly, because there's so many connotations to this word versus, you know, that action or that choice is a stupid choice. And how do people for themselves divide that, you know, separate that out so that they can have the discernment and empower themselves to tell somebody, yeah, you know, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it this way. Yeah. And at the same time, still be respecting the humanity of the individual who's acting stupidly.
That's been like one of the biggest questions in my career. Thanks for bringing that up and out, Todd. In working with children on the spectrum, we're focusing on behavior. And my field has been surrounded by behaviorists, and I just love collecting data on behavior. But this shifts a lot when we talk about the distinction between identity and behavior and intelligence and behavior, and that those are distinct differences. You know, I'm not my behavior. I'm not my conditions, right?
It goes back to honestly and earnestly being able to look at yourself and asking the question of who am I? And, you know, in that asking and in that uncovering, who am I, as opposed to who do I want to be? Who do I want to be reflecting out into the world? Who am I currently, but who am I beyond what I am currently? Who am I beyond the moment where I'm a bandit or acting helplessly or stupid? And these are also actions. They're not, definitives. They're, in any given situation, somebody could interchange any of these things.
Yeah. And
And
it's a verb, not a noun.
Yeah. And
It's
maybe,
not who,
yeah.
it's not who you are, it's who you be.
Right.
And that's the
Yes.
distinction that shifts a lot.
And that's where the choice comes in, but also the uncovering of really taking the time to know who you are, to be able to take that pause and stop and be like, who am I, as opposed to who have I been taught to be, or who am I in this situation, or who am I with this group of people versus that group of people, and how important it is to be able to stand and be who you truly are. I mean, imagine our world if we could all do that, just really do that.
Free to be.
And how creative, how I mean, the things that would come out, and wow.
Yeah.
Right. That's, to me, that's the essence of being fully human. It's the fact that recognize that each person brings something different, but that difference is not something to be negative about. It's something to be embellishing, embracing, and say, okay, I can add this to the mix like a spice. You don't look at spices when you're cooking and say, oh, I don't like that spice, just throw it over there, and it stays on that side just because it's different from the other spices. It becomes part of your pot you cook in. And when you can begin to think in that way and you make connections with people that way, then that to me is where miracles can happen.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're around people who are more inclined to act stupid in a given certain circumstances because of their identity they associate and which governs their lives. See, I believe identity governs our beliefs, and our beliefs governs our choices. Our choices governs our behaviors. Then our behaviors governs the consequences of the world that we see. And that's going to come up and be reflected through the life you experience based on the decisions that you make. Because life is going to happen to everybody. How you respond to those choices are going to come down to your belief systems, what you understand to be true. And that's, to me, is going to come down to your identity, how you see yourself.
And choosing what you're hanging on to, choosing what you're allowing to exploit you, or our whole world is, well, not all of our world. There are some pockets of, like, the Momo tribes and people who, but most of our world is designed to be involved now with the digital environment, and the go do and put it everywhere, and updo this person, and put down this person, or get attention, but that's, to me, that's not trying to figure out who you are. That's standing there and putting up a facade of something or someone that you could be in any given moment, which anybody can do. It's much harder to be able to be that person who stands up and says, I really feel like this is who I am. And to allow that vulnerability to come through, and to take those steps, allows the next person to do that. And so on, hopefully.
I think the identity and the belief are dependent on each other. And not to say that I think I've achieved this, but I think they're both, in the end, unnecessary as far as being conscious. That, you don't need an identity, and you don't even need a belief. You need an awareness, and you can bring in all your experience, and then at any given present moment, you choose. You choose by not choosing. You choose. There's no way around that. That's what I'm working on. That's my goal. But to say one precedes the other, I bounce back and forth. The identity has to have a belief system, and the belief system needs to form an identity to keep perpetuating themselves like a figure eight. And it becomes an infinite figure eight trap of the identity feeds the belief, and the belief feeds the identity. And, from my observation, many of us just get stuck at a certain point in life where that's become so built and strong that no one's going to step out of the loop.
Mm.
That's what I try to encourage people to do, to step back for a moment and go,
Yeah.
am I making this choice, or is my belief system making this choice? Which you guys are making me realize that, and there's my identity making this choice, but they're kind of the same.
Yeah.
They're in the same pot together.
They're interconnected.
And as we build on that, then the question comes back to, who gave you your identity? Right? And are you living an identity that's giving you your best chance to be successful in life as much as you can be? Right? At least that's the first perspective I look at it from. Is my identity giving me the best chance to be successful in life as much as I possibly can?
Yeah.
Of course, that's the first thought. It's going to be self-preservation. Then the thought becomes, does my identity help others? Help being that word there, and it was, or serve others. And I think a lot of people use those two words as synonyms, and they're not. To help someone and then serve someone. Because serve can also have a hierarchical perspective to it.
Yeah.
You're serving that person as a servant, and lower than that person.
Like a sacrifice.
Or a king does over a subject. You know, I'm your king, you're my servant. You know, I think that's a hierarchical perspective. I think everything comes down to your intent behind your thoughts that govern your behavior. Behind these three questions, I've wrestled with for years how to come up with the best way to make a discernment when I meet someone, if that's someone I want to continue to build with in my life. So I've come up with three questions. I'm going to share them with you, get your all thoughts. First question to ask someone when you meet a new connection is, what is your purpose in life? And then hear what that person has to say there. And again, I'm not telling anybody what to do with that information. You do with your choices, but it's gathering that data. The second question is to ask, well, what do you do? How do you define happiness? And do you have it? And then the third question is, what's your definition of justice? And the answers will tell you, to me, everything about their identity based on how they answer those questions. Now, it's not to say a person can't grow, but at least you have a snapshot of where they're currently thinking they are right there in that moment in time. Now, the question becomes, are they growth minded? Are they willing to allow themselves to be a seeker, seek more information and enlightenment and growth? Or do they have it all figured out, where they know exactly where their life is and what their belief systems are and what governs their life? And I think in today's time, having that information can be the key difference between success and failures, and particularly as you build movements and as well as your own personal life nowadays. Because identity has become so part of everything we do, and telling you your identity. I mean, think about when phones first came out. We all were old enough to remember when cell phones first came out. You can carry a phone with you. There was no identity with that phone, just some big piece of device that just got you the ability to call someone. And everybody was happy with it. But for capitalism to work, you got to get people to now add their identity to that device. And cell phones grew into something now we make it part of our identity, from the faces that we choose, to the ringtones that we listen to the images we have on our home screen. All that determines and is controlled by identity. And so our car, as we purchase, tells you about your identity. As you mentioned before, Rachel, the school you're going to send your kids to or not to is going to be governed by your identity. And if you didn't choose that, and it governs everything you do, that's where you got to have that war with yourself to say, if I'm going to stick with the same identity that I've been with my entire life, or do I shift into an identity that I choose when it best reflects who I am? And to your point, Todd, then you go with that loop of now where my beliefs now are going to be governed, but they're governed by identity that I chose, my own sovereign choice, as opposed to being told by someone else Here's your identity. And because they tell, so when it tells you that's your identity, then they also tell you what triggers you and what you should be upset about, and who you should like and who you should hate, and what you should give grace for and what you should not give grace for. Right? All that comes into play of how we see ourselves and see the world.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun exercise to get people to do. See how quickly, well, you change your ringtone and your picture on your phone. Like right now, let's do it right this second. You know, you could get interesting insights in another.
Yeah.
I could get it if, well, that's the one I'm used to my mom calling on, so I know it's her. You're like, okay, that's functional. Like, you know, it's like money. Is money a tool, or is money, you know, I pick on my family being that, you know, money's like the goal. A job's good if it makes a lot of money. There's no other real criteria, really. I think deep down inside, they have some more criteria for that. You know, like if you're selling drugs or something, they'd be like, no, wait a minute, that's not a job. So we could dig in there a little bit, but yeah, you know, is it functional? Well, money's a tool too, right now.
Yeah, and you know, you just touched on something too. Like, he's saying that selling drugs, you know, gives you money, and you know, who am I? If you're stopping and you're saying, "Who am I? And what is my purpose?" and you're a starving parent, a starving mom or dad, and you have to have money, and somebody comes along and is like, "Hey, you want to sell these drugs? I'll give you some money," and your children are home literally starving. You know, does that make you stupid? Or does that make you somebody who's just in a situation at the moment where you have to take care of your family? And does that even put you in any of these categories? That keeps you're in a survival mode. You're not even in a living, thriving mode at that point. And so much of our society these days is pushed into that mode of existence. And they don't even have the maybe the time or space or the privilege to be able to say, I need that pause. Or do they, you know?
Yeah.
Can you be discerning and say, okay, I need this pause just for a moment. I need to have this pause so that I can go inside, so I can say, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
You know, am I this person who's going to do this? Do I have to be this person in this moment? And I go back to some of my yogic studies in the Bhagavad Gita where he's on the battlefield and he literally has to go battle his family and he's tormented by this. He's like, Arjuna, he's like, how am I going to go out in a battlefield against my own family? And it comes down to, in the study, what it came down to was you have a duty as well as an identity, as well as an existence, as well as a purpose, as well as who you are, who you truly are. And in who you truly are, you still have to perform these duties and you have to be discerning along the way. And it's freaking complex. And you have to find what it is in you that shows you the true direction. And it can't be influenced by society or something else. It has to be something that allows the peace to settle in yourself. And then you might experience the feeling of being stupid or helpless or abandoned or intelligent along the way. But in experiencing those experiences, you're going to uncover a deeper knowing of who you are. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Just because you're stupid in a moment doesn't mean you're stupid forever. And it's okay. We're all stupid at some point in our lives.
We've all had a stupid behavior. We've all done a stupid behavior that was like not beneficial for yourself and not beneficial for others, which was the definition, right?
Right.
I think the one that I heard highlighted in Rachel's share was to be helpless. It's like the identity of a victim. And I definitely have held on to that identity for a long time. I think that one goes back generations in my lineage of like women just being helpless. And then that being like, well, if I'm helpless and I'm a parent, well, of course, now I need to go sell the drug.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, well, that's just the behavior that's going to happen based on my belief of my identity. So yeah, like the one thing that can transform that is the breath, is the pause, is the taking a step. And I've been in the situation of like, I didn't know how to take that breath. And then it's just like the domino effect. It's just already programmed. Like I'm already on the course. It's just all, it's like fated, right? And so to be able to shift your fate, to say like, I came through this construct and I'm not defined by it. I choose now, is really that place where Todd was speaking of like the awareness has no identity. The awareness has choice.
Right. And I agree with that. I think that from my perspective, again, not that I have all the answers, but from my perspective, that to get there is some steps. That's inevitably where we all want to be. To realize we return to that level of consciousness and awareness that we are consciously and we are connected. That's what physics tells us. Again, we choose because we were given this identity to see ourselves as separate. And then we choose on top of that to, in that separation, other people and put labels around people and say that these others are like this and these others are like that. These others are the reasons why I don't have or do have or behave, instead of choosing that I choose my own actions and choices at any moment. That's the sovereign identity. But I believe people don't come to that realization, that awareness, until they go through their wreckage. That's what I think the wreckage helps you do. So I don't look at the wreckage as being bad. I call it a wreckage because of the impact it has on your soul, but not being bad as something to avoid, because it brings transformation. I would not want to be the same person I am now prior to that. So I had to go through what I've gone through to learn about my identity, to be the observer and realize that I was believing in something that I was willing to either live or die for, fight or die. And I didn't even choose that. That's insanity of that. I'm actually putting everything I got into that belief system. And you got to ask yourself, who benefits from that, from me operating that belief system? And see, for me, that's the system engineer part of my thinking, is I got to put things in a logical framework. And if it doesn't make sense at that point, then why do it? Mm-hmm. So we talk about the stupid. Yes, everybody has behaved stupid at some point in their life based on this category. Absolutely, because we were programmed to. We're going to do things that's going to be against our best interest because that's what everybody seems to make sense. Or that seems to be the cultural thing to do. Mm-hmm. But what I'm getting to, or what I'm pointing at, is the most important thing is to be aware of. That's where the awareness of that you're making that choice is what now gets you to the point where you're no longer making those stupid behaviors. But until you become aware, you're always going to pivot between helplessness and stupid in most cases. Or most people will. Yeah. And they're wishing and praying for it to be at the bandit level. But they really operated helpless and stupid. And the end of the point I want to make is that, but in our minds, we see ourselves, if you give most people to say, what would you put yourself in? They're going to say, of course, I'm obviously intelligent. Mm-hmm. Right? Most people want to believe that's where they are. It's like, okay, well, let's do an assessment of your actions for the last 30 days and see, can others agree that you are an intelligent category? Are you willing to put yourself through that? Because there's a quote that says, we judge ourselves by our intent, and others judge us based on our actions. And Stephen R. Covey teaches that actions and intent are aligned. That's integrity. Mm. Right? And you think about how many people you know who truly operate in integrity all the time. that person's perfect. They don't exist, but they can do it most of the time. And that's their true north. That's where they really want to aspire to be. Like I want to be at the intelligent level as much as I can. And if I'm not, then let me figure out what's the best way I can to get there, and then obviously stay there.
I'm glad you clarified that the intent needs to be there, because we can never really know what others need or what's truly benefiting another. It could be somebody comes along and is acting stupidly towards another or as a bandit towards another. And maybe that's exactly what they needed in that moment to shock them or bring them to a wreckage point, into an expansion point for themselves, or a pause so that they can stop and reflect on who they are. We don't know the grand plan. All we can do is keep trying to be with ourselves and exploring that. But in that being with ourselves, we also need to have the allowance to being with other people and having that connection with other people, because that's what's going to cause the flow, the infinite flow, the figure eight there, the sideways figure eight, where it's a balance, between you and me, and giving and taking, and to have that balance continuously flowing is what's more important than finding the absolute. Because once you find an absolute, then you're putting a blockage in the flow. And so having the ability to make these mistakes, or not even mistakes, they're just uncoverings, something that's viewed as bad, that's a connotation. Maybe it seems bad to you, but to this person over here, this helped them tremendously to see something in themselves that then helped that person over there.
Right.
So it's so much more complex, but yet so simple at the same time, to be able to find balance and to be able to connect and keep that connection while you're exploring and while you're living and while you're saying, no, I don't like that, or
Yeah.
yes, I do like that, but keep that flow anyway.
I think there's a different way to look at belief system.
Todd, can I pause you just 1 second? Because there's a background sound that's just like hovering over. Does anyone have anything on in the background? Like a fan? It's going to.
Not me.
It's not me.
Can anyone else hear it, or is it just me? Oh, it stopped.
No, I can hear it as well.
Yeah, it's probably
Is
the
it better?
washing.
Is it better?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
The washing machine's spinning.
Okay, the washer's spinning. Thank you so much.
The washer's
Apologize for
spinning.
interrupting.
Life goes on, even
Right.
in the podcast world. Beliefs, yeah. So, rather than believing in something, like whichever model, I tell people I'm a recovering, Irish Catholic. And that's a belief system. That's a whole model, and you feed the information into the belief system, and it spits out an answer. And I really have distilled that down to, and that's how you control the unknown and the fear. You're like, well, when I get to the crossroads, I have a belief to put the information into, and it will tell me what the answer is, because the other alternative is more frightening, which leads to, my best way of looking at it now is you have to believe in yourself, which then that opens a giant can of worms of, well, who am I? And what am I? And where did I come from in the identity? Right? And maybe it just keeps going, like Rachel's saying, you just keep building on this, because the identity of who any of you are, or who I am, is probably unimaginable and nearly unattainably massive. Because if my sense of, what you want to call it, soul, spirit, God, plug in whichever word you want, your identity on that level is huge. It's almost not intelligible this 3D level. And so maybe it's a constant, development, which is different than being stuck at, this is my belief system and this is where I plug it in and I refer to that system. It gives me the answer. Well, isn't that nice and tidy? And you're done. And you'll know what to do whenever, but there's holes in it.
And it's fixed.
Yeah. Doesn't move. Even in doing the right thing. I try to do the right thing lots of times, even if it's just picking up trash or something, or just something little. And often I'll hear people telling me, well, no one else is doing that. Why do you have to do it, Todd? And I'm like, it might be a belief system I have. I don't know. We'll see in the end, but I'm compelled to whatever. Fix something, take care of something, put something in place. And it's mine, though, I realize. It's not. In the past, I'd complain, well, people left. And now I'm just like, you know what? This is in front of me and it's mine to do. And I'm feeling like I'm doing it. It'll take me about a minute and a half. And I might even have to listen to the person I'm with complaining. We were taking a minute and a half to go do that thing that nobody does anyways. And I'm like, yeah, but I do.
But it brings you the balance and the peace inside of yourself. So if you don't have balance and peace inside of yourself, then you don't have the ability to discern moving forward for any other actions.
Yeah, that's definitely where it stems from. And I can hear like the evolution in you, Todd, from like the identity of the Irish Catholic to this a no identity and awareness. And I'd like to just reframe, like when you're picking up the trash, it's not from the Irish perspective, the Irish Catholic perspective of good or bad. It's now the intelligent thing to do.
And I leave a lot of, we were with a friend the other day and she was picking up the trash on all the trail we were on, and I helped a little bit, but sometimes I leave it right there. I'm like, yeah, I'm not in that mode right now today. I'm not. Maybe I'll come down here another time with a bag and plan ahead and fill it. Because there's plenty here.
Maybe at that point, picking it up is now a drain to you, and now it's not an intelligent choice. Right?
Well, and there's a difference between being compelled to do the right thing. My archetype is the church lady.
Like from church chat, Saturday Night Live, church chat, church lady.
Well, no, my brother's good at that one. You were born. Okay, never mind. With that young lady, weren't you? You liked it. Oh yeah. No, but the church lady in the sense that you're going to go do good and help people, but we're back to the intent. So they're helping people, but within the definitions of how you're supposed to live a life, and also mostly helping people out of some sort of like that they're supposed to, or they feel guilty, and so they're not really helping. They're not going and like finding out what this person, in a way they're helping. They're getting food and clothes for families that don't have it. So on a certain level, it helps. But well, here's the judgment and here's how you're supposed to live a life. And I'm going to come and help you, person. I'm like, yeah, I don't want your help. Because the intent isn't to figure out what that person really needs and then supply it for them. The intent is, this is what the rules are. Here's the belief system. And so we're going to help people get to that predetermined set of rules that we made up. And one's really to make themselves feel better. That whatever they're guilty about in the world, this makes them feel better. In the past I said that's not really helping, but in a way it's helping. They're bringing food to the food pantry and somebody without any resources at the moment gets food. It's helping, but it's not if you have to go to the, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that any behavior that I have that's breaking the construct of just like my ways of doing things in the past would be to feel like, does it require courage to do this thing? Does this behavior shift me from just like obligation and self-sacrifice to courage? Like really stepping out of the box. And that's where like my awareness finds herself.
I love that. I love that. You know, I believe that I have to be following a framework, or to me, it doesn't make sense. It's just how my mind works. And that's why, you know, the 4 agreements of being fully human, thinking about, again, connecting with people and how to build connections and how to build sustainable connections. It's easy to go out here and build network. We all know that. We've made people, I mean, we've been part of networks. We're part of networks currently. We've been part of networks. But that sustainability is a challenge. What keeps people coming back in every week or every month for years and staying consistent with that? What is that network doing? What is those relationships doing? And then understanding from there, who do you really want to spend your time with, as I look at it as in this 4th quarter of our lives? Who do you want to really allow to be in your space? Now, for me, that's a very thoughtful question. I'm always thinking about questions that guide my decisions. And it's folks who really understand that they're fully human and doesn't allow themselves to be conditioned by these identities. Because if you, like I said, you listen to the regular media, the media is constantly telling you what to think and how to behave and what's happening. If you let yourself listen to that and fall into that, now your whole day is ruined about something that you had no control over, no influence over, but now you've been impacted, you're choosing to be impacted because of your identity. Right, so I just want to share this because I want to take time now for our musical break, but I wanted to set the stage for this song. I believe it comes down to us understanding that we are fully human. We're all energy at the end of the day. And everything else on top of that is decisions and choices that we choose. It's not necessarily the facts. So let me know your thoughts on this song, and I'll see you on the other side.
All right.
This is not music. This is a frequency signal. The ancestors are the orchestra. The AI is the instrument, king. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla. Look at the chair, sitting in the corner, completely still. That stillness is alive. Trillions of atoms in motion, every electron engaged. The chair is not still, the stillness is staged. Modern physics caught up to what the ancestors carved in stone. Kemet meant the black land. Chem is where chemistry was born. Imhotep ran the temple lab 4,000 years before Christ. Tahuti laid 7 hermetic laws. Vibration was the price. The Dogon mapped Sirius B before Europe owned a lens. Tracked the star they couldn't see with a math that never ends. Tesla cracked it in his lab, said the universe is sound. Einstein proved that matter equals energy by the pound. Planck shattered solid matter, said the quantum is the rule. Heisenberg confirmed the observer turned turns experiment to fuel. Bohr looked inside the atom, found empty space and spin. So when a construct handed you a skin suit, laminated thin, that costume is the cage they built before you knew your name. You are not the suit they assigned, you are the signal beneath the frame. Your heartbeat has a frequency, your brainwave has a tone. Your thoughts are broadcasting signal the second they leave home. This is the chemistry of humanity, the science they concealed, just the frequency. The sovereign is revealed. Energy is everything. Everything is energy, vibrating in the pleroma, setting the spirit free. You are not a skin suit, you are a pattern in the flow. 500 hertz of love energy. This is the frequency we know. Energy is everything. Everything is energy. 500 hertz of love energy. This is the frequency we know. Trillions of cells in motion, no name on the chart. Molecules into atoms, electrical art. 8 forms of energy run the human design. Miss one, the whole grid starts to decline. Physical, the temple maintain the frame. Mental, the diet refuse the propaganda game. Spiritual, direct line, no middleman, no priest. Love, universal current, not bounded, released. Wisdom, the truth, alchemized from the lost. Emotional, governed from knowing no matter the cost. So the unique signature, the frequency of you. Generative, the output, the revenue, the proof. 8 muscles, 1 vessel. If one starts to bleed, you pay the tenant tax for the corporation's creed. Your skin is not your prison, your frequency is your throne. The construct sold you costume, but the signal is your own. This is the chemistry of sovereignty, the lab beneath the skin. Adjust the frequency, the rain begins within. But here's the chemistry the construct will never teach in school. The reaction needs the pressure, the fire is the tool. Carbon under heat and weight is how diamonds get formed. The sovereign architect is forged inside the storm. I lost $1 million in the wreckage of the dream. 5 years inside the breaking, testing every seam. The thunder cracked the lamination, stripped the skin suit clean. What survived was not the costume, what survived was the frequency between. This is the alchemy buried under the chemistry of pain. The pressure that breaks the tenon is the pressure that crowns the rain. You don't ascend through comfort, you ascend through the fire. The storm is the laboratory, the wreckage is the wire. They want you dead, they want you heavy, they want you slow and cold, locked in the civil war in the skull, doing what you're told. Because a low frequency note is easy to command, but a sovereign architect, you cannot tax his land, you cannot buy his energy, you cannot label his soul. He has stepped into the chemistry, taking back control. This is paradigm dissolution, this is the hard reset. This is the frequency the construct can't forget. Energy is everything, everything is energy, vibrating in the pleroma, setting the spirit free. You are not a skin suit, you are a pattern in the flow. 500 hertz of love energy. This is the frequency we know. 500 hertz of love. 500 hertz of love. Imhotep knew, Tahuti knew, Tesla confirmed, Einstein proved. The ancestors left the coordinates to bypass the construct's wrath. You are not solid. You are not the skin suit. You are a signal. Ancestors. We call your names. This is what it means to be fully human. Are you picking up?
Thank you all for investing that time and energy to listen to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I had a vision of like a stage and a whole audience full of children. Like if the children understand this, our future is very bright.
Yeah, I was seeing kids' science classes too, playing it to the high school physics class and the biology class. Here's something to think about.
I just saw people connecting, people just allowing each other to be with each other without the judgment and the hate and the walls and the constructs and the you shoulds and you shouldn'ts and yeah, and it all like I don't know. There's so much that can be said about that, King. I just know thyself. If you truly can focus on knowing who you are, because I don't believe that any one of us comes here to be evil or unkind or cruel or creating conflict. I think we're born really beautifully, and it's all these other things along the way that get in the way of being able to shine that outwardly and make those connections. And yeah, you can keep going in and keep finding the alignment in yourself, but you can't do it alone either. You have to have the ability to, I can't be everything. I can't be the one who supplies and the one who nourishes and the one who loves and the one who, and or the one who designs what you just designed, King. Like, look what you just designed. And I don't do that. And I don't do what Todd does. I don't do what Jess does. I do what I do. And I don't even know what I do half the time. I just go inside and try to be me as best I can along the route. And if we could all allow each other and ourselves to do that, wow. Yeah.
If all of us had that purpose in life, to go find yourself.
Yeah. To thine own self be true, right?
I think all of us have that purpose if all of us accept that purpose.
Right.
No,
we come from the construct of go fuck yourself. So it's really hard to make that jump of like, oh wait, I need to go find myself. Okay. I'll take that advice. Let's go.
And not only find it, but be it. Have the courage to be that. And stand up and be strong and stand in your power, as they say,
Yeah. I actually remember when I was in my last identity construct and I had a victim mentality, a belief, and I was in a helpless mode because it was like self-sacrificing for others to stay in the condition of the construct. And I remember as I was like peeling away, one of my friends saying like, do you have to do that? Like, does it have to be this way? Or can you just like stop that behavior? And I remember communicating to her, like, this isn't me. Like, I'm moving through what's not me. And I had enough awareness to say that, like, what I was born into and the identities that I took on and that I attached with and the beliefs that I held are not resonant any longer. And it's okay. It's totally okay that I discover that for myself. It's actually part of what I'm here to do. So then to be able to like distinguish the difference between my true north and what's not is the work. And to have the ability to say, this is no longer aligned. This has shifted, because if we're doing this the whole time, like, let's just normalize that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with that. With my adventures through the cancer and medical world that I've been experiencing lately, it's like, every time I go into that world, there's a new adventure that comes up and pops up, and it's like, do I identify as this? No, this is not who I am. I'm not a victim. I'm not a sick person. I'm me. Maybe I'm experiencing some of that, but that doesn't mean that's who I am. And I think that's really important for people to be able to embrace, to empower themselves in that way, because for me, it gave me great power to be able to say, wait a minute, this is not who I am.
Yeah.
And several times it gave me so much power that I feel like I overcame, near really close experiences with actually dying. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not this.
Yeah.
I'm way more than this, but not in a I'm better than this way.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm
Yeah.
more than I can allow this for myself.
Yeah.
And I can embrace this.
Yeah. And I remember you coming home from that, like stepping out of that, or I remember just like hearing your voice just saying, do they know who I am? As it like it started this fire in you of this life force that was so strong, that was like, no, like what you're telling me doesn't fit at all.
Yeah, and that was just one experience. I mean, and I think we all go through these experiences, like you say, King, with the wreckage, and we have a choice. At that moment, it's when it's presented, we have a choice. And is this who I am? Is this who I am? But also to be able to still keep that balance and, yeah, no, this isn't who I am, and I need help. I need to connect. I can't do this by myself, and allow that. And even allowing it from the people who have the intention, and trying to be able to recognize that the intention's there from the people around us, and that the heart's there. People were like, how are you feeling? And for the longest time, I was like, stop fucking asking me how I'm feeling. That is the last freaking thing I want to focus on. But then I had to shift it and be like, okay, they're doing this because they are caring. They're showing their heart. They're saying, how are you feeling? They're reaching out by saying that. And by me saying, stop freaking saying that, I'm not accepting them reaching out. So I had to shift that so that I could have that connection with people instead of a hard block. I mean, that's just one example of a million examples I could give you on that level. Connection. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, getting to the point where, not to say that somebody didn't do something to somebody, whatever, however they did it, or however some of these things have been programmed for generations. That's it, even in the DNA and the whole, like, yeah, abusive cycle, because it just goes on and on. But to be able to get to the point where ultimately you tell yourself, I chose this identity. Maybe unconsciously, maybe I was 2 years old, maybe, it was survival at the time, but now you're not the 2-year-old that's dependent on becoming that identity just to survival. And when you get to that point, you can change the identity, which means you can change what you believe, which means you just keep cycling through. It just keeps going around and around. You can use it as a positive momentum instead of a constant thing that just keeps deconstructing you.
And it's used against you. Like when you use Facebook, you do any kind of Facebook marketing for your business, you have the opportunity to go into what type of demographic you want to choose, down to, I'm looking for the state. Say I want to choose the state, the city within the state, then the population within the state. I'm looking for white females who are gay but are Mormon but have children, but only 2 kids that are both in high-end schools. You can choose that kind of specificity is who you want to message your communication to, because that's where people voluntarily give up and identify themselves through those boxes. Whether you're saying I'm a Black female, such and such, or whatever it is, you just keep checking those boxes, and you think you're doing it out of pride, and you're just doing it to be controlled. Because you give them all that personality to them, all that knowledge to the system. Now they know exactly they know, and then you're sharing what you eat, when you eat, where you eat, who you eating with.
Yeah.
Check in where you are.
And checking where you
we're checking. We're here now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the fact that I go to restaurants now, they have Instead of having a menu, they got a QR code. They want me to use my phone. It's like, what if I don't want to do that? Why is that? How come I don't have an option? How do you all just change things without even giving me the option? I have to come and conform. No, I don't have my phone with me. So do I need to leave because I can't look at the menu? Oh, we give you a menu. It's like it's a fight because people just want you to conform. And when you start to do things that's not in the conform, it's like the Matrix. There's this video of this guy taking a Japanese subway in the morning, everybody commuting to work, and it had just folks just walking with their phones, just like a beehive, just humming this. Got on the train, no one's speaking to each other, there's no interactions, everybody's into their phones, and he said that's just what his life is. You get into that maze, you just step in, follow suit, and you just conform. And the first person that stops looks weird. Like getting in an elevator and that one person is facing the other direction. Everybody's going, what this guy,
Yeah.
Is that like me walking through a big city? When I'm walking through a big city and someone will catch me out, I go, hey, how's it going? And they're like, you get nothing usually. You just get
Yeah, interrupt their pattern. Look for ways to interrupt people's patterns. They just get so constructed in their minds. And to your point, that's why I really appreciate the breath work when I learned that. It's like, wow, all this time I had not thought about I can sit here and control my breath. That's my choice. You take for granted that you have that breath until it's gone. Then breathing becomes the most important thing to you when it's not there. So you learn to appreciate the fact that I have this ability to breathe in, hold it, and now start thinking about different thoughts in my head that's different than what I've been told to think about or be concerned about or be angered about or love about. Valentine's Day is coming up. I got the anxiety. I need to buy my girlfriend and my wife something, and I don't have any money. And now I'm dealing with that anxiety. And that's what the world has taught me to be. This one day of this year, I got to go through this anxiety of not giving my wife the best gift I can, because if I don't give her the biggest gift and take her to dinner, then she doesn't feel as loved as the woman who did get that from her husband or her spouse or whatever the case may be. And that to me is the insanity that people have when you're dealing with it every day in your head. You're going from holiday to holiday, from work to school to home. That is going to lead to a life that's easy to be controlled with drugs now. Because now you get anxiety, you're getting stressed, and there's doctors saying, okay, well, I understand what you did. Here's what you need to take.
Yeah.
And then you watch pharmaceuticals, you watch TV and you're watching a program you like to watch, and the commercial tells you that if you're suffering from any of these things, we have the fix for you.
Mm-hmm.
And they quickly say all the side effects. Might cause death and all that. But yeah, pay attention to all the happiness behind us and the canoes and all the sunray and everybody's enjoying themselves, and tell your doctor about this drug.
Yeah.
And that's the world we live in. That's acceptable. That's, so the only way you escape that is not watch those programs.
Or at least to start questioning them.
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason for the drug ads is because then they own that network.
Yes.
You're not
That
going to
too.
say something bad about the person paying the bill.
Right.
Well,
and then who's going to start questioning the network?
Right.
Yeah. And that's what we're doing. Having this conversation is like, wait a minute, I'm going to actually look back and ask these deeper questions. If I'm asking who am I, then I can also reflect that, like, who's my network and
Who are you?
who are you?
Yeah.
And see, for me, these questions led me to then how can I live a life more of love? And that led me to mountains of hope and meeting you and us. See, those questions lead somewhere if you wanted to put that out there with the universe. And that's what this is. Yeah. All those questions manifesting this here in real time.
Follow the dots.
As we get ready to wrap up today's show, I just want to give everybody one more opportunity to say any closing thoughts that you might want to share, a quote, how you feel with our listening audience, any words of wisdom or whatever's in your heart to share. We go around. How about we start with you, Todd? With anything you want to share? Get started.
Trust yourself. Believe in yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How about yourself, Rachel?
Keep connecting the dots. Follow the breadcrumbs. Follow the trail. It's it's never ending, but along the way, make sure you enjoy it, because it's a pretty wild adventure if you allow it to be an adventure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jess?
Yeah, go find yourself. I'm replacing the go F yourself. Go find yourself, and find like curiosity and courage to question everything.
Absolutely. I want to say that as well. I'm going to end with stay curious. It keeps you dangerous. Thank you all for listening to Becoming More Fully Human. Until next Tuesday at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's all look for ways that we all can become more fully human. Thank you.
Thank you.